Welcome to the Grape Jelly Library, where we love to talk about books. My name is Flossie, and I am so glad you are here. Today, we are going to talk about what happens when you meet your book goals. The Read What You Own Challenge. Let's take a moment to ponder that. I decided I was going to participate in it. I think this is my second year participating in that. And I chose the magic number 50. But I never stopped to realize that 50 is right around the ballpark that I normally read. So that would equate to me buying no books at all for the year, with the exception of my library's book sale, my birthday, and Mother's Day. No, something's got to be done about that. So I put my thinking cap on and I decided that I was going to read those little books that are treasures of gold sitting on my shelf that I pay full price for, but I never read. And Lord, do I have a stack of them. So now is the perfect time to get to those books. My chart looks like this, looking pretty sharp, I would say. Everything in green is what I have accomplished. Everything in pink is not applicable. I'm proud to say that I have 50 books under my belt so far, and the year is not even over. So now I can go book shopping. So let's talk about some of the books that helped me to be able to walk into that bookstore and make my purchases. Books such as The Things You Can Only See When You Slow Down by Haemin Sunim. I love little books like this. They're informative, they pack a punch, they help you along in your life's journey, and they make sometimes what's obvious that we take for granted, they shine the light on those little obvious things, and they help us to change our way of thinking. And I'm grateful for that. Books such as Happy Habits, Karen Salmansohn. Salmansohn. It's a beautiful book. I really dig the way that book looks. So these are Happy Habits. Count your blessings, your essential evening gratitude practice. Say the word yet. Make it a habit. Pop a small but powerful yet on the end of your negative thoughts, and you'll feel a lot better. Obstacles are temporary. Make it a habit. If maintaining a daily journal sounds overwhelming, simply commit to writing a sentence or two a day. Every once in a while, reread your journal for an extra dose of happiness. So remember to keep that journal on the positive. You will leave a trail of stars. Words of Inspiration for Blazing Your Own Path by Lisa Congdon. So we have Own Your Story. Own your story. Has anyone ever said to you, thank you for sharing your story after you shared something painful or difficult experience? We appreciate it when people tell honest stories because it isn't usually the easy, happy stuff that connects us. It's more often the painful, shameful, embarrassing stuff. Owning, honoring, and sharing your story, especially the uncomfortable parts, is lifelong work. But the payoff is tremendous because vulnerability is necessary for true connection with others. And I am a huge believer in the aforementioned statement. I don't believe in skeletons in the closet. You can keep some of them in there, but I don't think you should carry that baggage with you. I think you should open up to someone or even write it down. And get that out of your system. You will feel so much better, and never be ashamed of who you are or where you come from, because you know what? You are going places, baby. You are going places. All right, so just one more. I love, oh, two more. Two more. This book is so awesome. The Life Lessons from the Ocean, Soothing Wisdom from the Sea by Richard Harrington and illustrated by Annie Davidson. I had a ball reading this book. I've learned so much. We all know that we can learn a thing or two from the animals and the creatures. One thing I never really explored too much is the ocean floor, the sea. Fascinated by it, but just never, I never went there. So, all these little sea creatures and their purpose, and how they can help us. He's adorable. And what their purpose is, and lots of takeaways from this book. I adored it. And then the last little book that I'm going to show to you is the Book of Light, 365 Ways to Bring Light into Your Life, Mikaela Katherine Jones. You know what? Sunshine. I am sunshine. I am sunshine. I love the sunshine. Me and my boss just had a conversation today. He asked me if I went swimming yesterday because it was like 100 degrees. And I did not, because I only swim when the sunshine is out. I'm not a nighttime swimmer, and I'm not a cloudy day swimmer. I am a full blown sunshine swimmer. I'm like a bobblehead. I get my energy from the sun. So, of course, I'm going to read a book like this, The Book of Light. Find a charity or a cause that inspires you and give to it with your money, your time, and your love. Supporting a charity gives more meaning and fulfillment to your life. Ooh. Focus on the golden energy in your heart. This is the center of you, the center from which all of your love and power emerges. When you need to move forward with courage, tune into this energy and affirm the love, light, and joy that is your essence. Okay, so it is books like that that allowed me to go to my local Barnes and Nobles and buy some books. Now, listen, I tried not to be like a bull in a china shop. I tried to have reserve, and I tried to be mindful that I wasn't going to walk out of that bookstore with a million books in my hand. I was going to be specific in what I chose so that I don't end up with a bunch of books on my shelf that I'm not reading. Each book chosen is a book I truly want to know about. I am so excited to bring you these books. Now, I have to say, there's a little story. Oh, didn't know I put that one on my pile, but I'm so glad that I did. I have to say, this is a 2 bookstore trip, okay? 2. Because things happen. Okay, so the first book that I chose is 1974 by Francine Prose. It's a personal history. So listen to why I chose this. In her first memoir, the critically acclaimed best-selling author Francine Prose recalls her brief, intense relationship with the activist Tony Russo during a year when our country changed forever. In her 20s, Prose lived in San Francisco, where she met Russo, who, along with Daniel Ellsberg, had been indicted and tried for leaking the Pentagon Papers. She and Russo spent their nights driving manically around the city while he chain smoked and told increasingly wild and impassioned stories about working for the Rand Corporation in Vietnam and about his decision to become a whistleblower. Their affair ended in New York City after a dramatic and deeply disturbing series of events that seemed to reflect the ways in which the idealism of the 60s was being replaced by the harsh realities of the 70s. Touching on the preoccupations of that historical moment, the Vietnam War, the women's movement, sexual liberation, drugs, the Patty Hearst kidnapping, and the Watergate hearings, 1974 recreates the unsettled climate of the era, at once heartfelt and ironic, funny and sad, personal and political. 1974 provides an insightful look at what it was like to be a young woman then, as it is now, and at the ways in which Francine Prose became a writer and artist during the years when the country too was shaping its identity. So I was only 3 years old. How am I to know? The only way I'm going to know is to read this book. And I am super excited about reading this book. I have already started, and I am on page 7. Okay. The next book I chose on that trip is The Night in Question by Susan Fletcher. Look at this beauty of a book. A lyrical and emotionally engaging novel infused with mystery, wisdom, love, friendship, and the power of forgiveness. Florrie Butterfield, 87, one-legged and a cheerful disposition, believes she has experienced all the adventures and surprises life has to offer. Yet, one midsummer's evening, an accident takes place at the Babington Hall, the adult residence where she lives. So shocking and strange that Florrie grows suspicious. Was it really an accident, or is she being lied to? Does she, in fact, live alongside a potential murderer? In her efforts to learn the truth, Florrie is forced to look back on her own life with all its passions and regrets. She must confront her own bloody secret and, at last, forgive herself. Above all, Florrie learns through the help of her new friend, Stanhope, that you're never too old to have the life you've always dreamed of. When it comes to love, it's never too late. Oh my God, I am so excited about that one. The next one, be beautiful. You know what? All the people that do the artwork for these books, I am telling you, you make my day. I love to see it. Four Squares by Bobby Finger. Isn't that gorgeous? It is. I want to be a nosy neighbor and I want to know what goes on. So I'm going to read the book and I am going to find out. And I am reading the book. I'm on page 39. In 1992, on his 30th birthday, Artie Anderson meets the man who will change his life. Artie spends his days at a tedious advertising job, finding relief in the comfort of his friends and the corner of New York City he can call his own, even as the queer community is still being ravaged by HIV. But when his birthday celebration brings Artie and his friends to his favorite bar, a chance encounter with Abe, an uptight lawyer and Artie's opposite in almost every way, pushes Artie to want and to ask for more for himself. 30 years later, Artie is stunned when Hallie and Vanessa, Abe's daughter and ex-wife, announce they are moving across the country. Artie has built a lovely, if small, life, but their departure makes Artie realize that he might be lonelier than he previously thought. When a surprising injury pushes Artie into the hands of Gals, the local center for queer seniors, a rambunctious group of elders insist on taking him under their wing. What follows will open up Artie's world in ways unimaginable. I am telling you, I am so enjoying this book. When I am done with this video, I am going downstairs and I'm getting on the couch and I am getting my blanket and I'm getting my iced coffee. And you know what? I'm just going to dig into this book for the rest of the night. I love it so far. So far, so good. Now, that is where I pulled the plug. I pulled the plug. I bought no more books. See how adult and responsible I was being? until I watched, oh, I have to say, one of my very favorite channels. I just love her channel to pieces. I watch every day religiously. I don't always get to comment because sometimes I'm doing it at work, but I'm watching and I'm commenting whenever I can. Lila Wanders and Reads. She goes by Lee. And I have seen this book a million times, and I always thought, maybe, maybe, maybe. And I never did. And, back in the 90s, although I was an adult, I loved Sabrina the Teenage Witch with Melissa Joan Hart. I loved the ants. I loved Salem. I loved the house, the atmosphere, just the fun of that show. So I always want to not watch, read witchy things. That, or yeah, you know what? Watch witchy things. Yeah, Death Becomes Her, Hocus Pocus. Yeah, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I guess I like witchy things. So Lee said she enjoyed this book so much. Payback's a Witch, Lana, Harper. Sexy, funny, charming romp of a novel that scratches the witchy autumnal itch just right. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to read that this October. And then I said a second later, no, I'm not. I am going to get that book today and I'm going to read it ASAP. So you can't just buy one book when you go into a bookstore, can you? Can you? The witch is back and ready for revenge with a little help from her friends in this fresh, sizzling rom-com by Lana Harper. You know what? As I age, I find that I enjoy a good rom-com. There's too much stress and too much adulting, and I like a little fun. So I chose that. But on my way back to get that book, I saw this beaut. How could I not? This is what gave me my love of reading. If you grew up on Reading Rainbow, this book is for you. LeVar Burton. I love LeVar. I always have. I always will. And I watched Reading Rainbow religiously. Loved it. It made me want to be studious. Creating Reading Rainbow, the untold story of a beloved children's series by Barbara Irwin, Tony Buttino Sr., and Pam Johnson. I don't even have to say it anymore. Anybody who is familiar with Reading Rainbow, this right here will just speak for itself. So I cannot wait to find out about the creation of Reading Rainbow. That's so exciting to me. I don't know why. It just is because I just love it so much. Okay. Two more books. First trip was 3, second trip was 4. And now I'm going to, I think I've had my fix. I'm not going to go to the bookstore until I get some of these read. Now, when I entered, I saw this one, The Unforgettable Loretta Darling by Katherine Blake. So sassy, so delicious. Loretta is one cool character, says the New York Times best-selling author Josie Silver. That's a stunner. A stunner of a book if I ever saw one. And it's a stunner of a story. It's 1950 and Loretta Reynolds is newly arrived in Hollywood. Fresh off a con that brought her from England to the sunny shores of California. She's running away from a complicated past to fulfill her ambition of becoming a makeup artist to the stars. When her new husband, a would-be actor, takes her to a sex-fueled Hollywood party on their wedding night, hoping to trade her to a powerful director for a favor, she discovers the dark side of Tinseltown and sets out on a path of revenge against the cruel men who use their money and power to play with their lives and dreams. In her quest for vengeance, Loretta gathers a band of La La Land misfits, a fading starlet past her prime, a friendly neighborhood sex worker, and a brooding screenwriter who proves, yes, not all men are evil, just most. Now, Loretta is about to get her big break, and Hollywood better beware because Loretta's learned a lot, and there's not just lipstick lurking in her makeup case. Tell me that does not sound like a good read. Put the coffee on. And then you know what? There is just no way in heck I was going to leave this one behind. The Witch of New York, The Trials of Polly Bodine and the Cursed Birth of Tabloid Justice by Alex Hortis. Now, stay with me for just a minute longer because you have to hear this. Before the sensational cases of Amanda Knox and Casey Anthony, before even Lizzie Borden, there was Polly Bodine, the first American woman put on trial for first-degree murder in the age of tabloid media. On Christmas night in 1843, in a serene village on Staten Island, shocked neighbors discovered the burnt remains of 24-year-old mother, Emmeline Houseman, and her infant daughter, Anne Eliza. In a perverse nativity, someone bludgeoned a mother and a child in their home, and then covered up the murders with arson. When an ambitious district attorney charges Polly Bodine, Emmeline's sister-in-law, with a double homicide, the new penny press explodes. Polly is a perfect media villain. She's a separated wife who drinks gin, commits adultery, and reputedly has had abortions. Between June 1844 and April 1846, the nation was enthralled by her three trials in Staten Island, Manhattan, and Newborough for what the media coined the Staten Island murders. After Polly's legal dream team entered the fray, the press and the public debated not only her guilt, but her character and fate as a fallen woman in society. Public opinion split into different camps over her case. Edgar Allan Poe and Walt Whitman covered her story as young newsmen. P.T. Barnum made a circus out of it. James Fenimore Cooper's last novel was inspired by her trials. The Witch of New York is the first narrative nonfiction history about the dueling trial lawyers, ruthless newsmen, and shameless hucksters who turned the Polly Bodine case into America's formative tabloid trial, an origin story of how America became addicted to sensationalized reporting of criminal trials. The Witch of New York vividly reconstructs an epic mystery from old New York and uses the Polly Bodine case to challenge our system of tabloid justice of today. Now tell me if that doesn't sound like a fascinating read. I can't wait. Can't wait to dig into all of these new books. So yeah, I think I am content right now with my purchases, and I'm super excited to read all of them. Whatever you are reading, have a ball. Until we meet again, whatever you are doing, have a happy